Fuck me, I want to play some Quake. Ow! What the hell are you doing, you little... what? Quake Peril? Yeah, okay, sure, why not? Let's play some Quake Peril. Quake, huh? Definitely one of the big ones. Might be not as popular as Doom when it comes to modding, still quite a big thing as far as I know. I have a weirdly conflicting memories about this game. I remember playing it no issue with my old 486 family PC. And today everyone online says that Quake couldn't run anything worse than a 3rd gen Pentium. Then I have this memory of the final level, this open big space with the tentacle monster behind this big wall. The spider things are like sniping me on those platforms. I don't know what to do. Like, I cheated into the boss area. I couldn't do any damage to the boss, so I thought the game bugged, and it left me disappointed. Of course, today we know that apparently certain pirated copies of the game on the eastern side of Europe were a leaked beta with that final level, so at least I know I wasn't crazy. Yeah, I finally played the full version of Quake 10 years later, when I got the internet and everything. I was quite perplexed by the final level being completely different from my memories. I was really weirded out, but glad that one video a few years ago revealed this childhood mystery. Of course, when it comes to Quake mods, there are a few well-known ones, with the most well-known and most visible being, of course, Arcane Dimensions. And there are also some others like Mjolnir, and we recently got the new Call of the Void by the same dev as Bloom. I should play that one, actually. I also remember playing one called Quake 1.5. That one was cool, because it actually added like bosses to all the episodes, which is something I was always missing from the original game. But it does make me wonder, how come that Quake modding, while definitely there and large, didn't get as huge as Doom modding? Like huge, like visible, like articles and whatnot about many Doom mods, but you never really hear about like Quake mod that much. They are never that high profile, and I wonder why is that? Even when it comes to the current boom shoot renaissance, we got plenty of high profile GC Doom games like Hedon and Celaco, and all of these. But when it comes to Quake engine games, there was like maybe one, which was Red, which definitely wasn't that smooth ride. And then there's this thing. Still makes me wonder, is it a purely aesthetical thing? Not sure if it's the tools though. Quake got an awesome modern editor called Trench Broom, which I also dabbled in a bit, and it was very easy to learn, so not sure if that's the problem. Maybe it's really just the 2D sprites. But yeah, to be back to the mod I want to show you today. While I can't say that I'm that fully aware of what's up in the Quake modding community, I definitely never heard of this one, this Peril. It was recommended to me actually. Well, so what is Peril? Well, it's a Quake mod. Well, this was a short one. I see you next time. Okay, I tell you more. It is a Quake mod, yes, by one Balgorg, made for Iron Whale and Quake Spasm Spite source ports. It's a bit different than the usual stuff. There is like no main hub, no episodes or anything like that. It's a one long continuous adventure of like 40 or so levels. Like that Serious mod I talked about last time, when I first mentioned this Quake mod. And the levels themselves, they are ginormous. I'm not sure if I ever played a Quake mod with huge levels like this. Maybe Mjolnir is like this from what I've seen. You have to play that. I know that's one is big, but most of the stuff I played got nowhere near the size. We start in an enormous cyberpunk-like city, where you are given the actual best weapon of the game, in my opinion, the plasma thrower, quite early. It's possibly also the only new weapon of the game, as the rest are reskins of the usual arsenal. Do have to mention that Peril is based on Arcane Dimensions, which is also evidenced by the 3-barrel shotgun. Then, from the city, you reach the countryside, and the usual difficulty choice actually happens at the end of the second long level, a few hours in. You cross the sled gate and get captured. Apparently you are in the Middle Ages now, or at least some place that looks medieval, and your cool plasma thrower is gone now and you probably won't see it for a while. Peril does this every so often, just randomly taking away or giving you weapons, and with no explanation why at all. Which kinda reminded me of a similar bug in Turok Evolution, so this is definitely better than that game, I can tell you for sure. You quickly reach a modern human base under the sea and under the ground. Then you traverse medieval villages, the countryside, sail on boats and fly on blimps, and explore dark caves and dungeons, mines and coastal towns. Later, you even get to some Eldritch locations, and sometimes the game even feels like Quake, but interestingly, most of the time it feels like you are playing a completely different game. The large environments and enemy hordes makes Peril feel like more of a serious STEM game actually, and as such some weapons, like the grenade launcher, does feel kinda useless. In a way, there is not a lot more to say about the gameplay part, because ultimately it is based on Quake. I do feel that there is a lot more humanoid enemies than monsters though, with a lot of variance on the different knights, or the many variants of the different sci-fi soldiers. It is actually interesting, because Peril definitely got a lot more enemy types than base Quake, and yet sometimes feels like the enemy variety is not that great. Maybe it's because specific faction of enemies are often used together, so some maps you only fight sci-fi soldiers, other maps only medieval knights. There are multiple types of shambles even. But is there any story? Yes, apparently somewhat. Asking about story in a Quake mode, weird I know. But most of it is not exactly told, but shown. You could be walking around on some countryside and then suddenly the enemy humans drop some orbital drop pod from the sky and spaceships are flying around and all that. Or you are exploring their base and you see tubes with creatures that might hint at a Quake 2 connection, which is a recurring thing in mods I actually noticed, especially recently. Then again, they are officially connected now, so yeah. According to the README file, in Peril, you play as Robin, the daughter as one of the Slipgate Rangers that were sent in through the Slipgates to defeat Shalmigrat. Robin's father never returned, and since then, the present a nefarious corporation known as Slipgate Industries, who were the inventors of the Slipgates, have declared martial law. With their new technologies, Slipgate Industries is building an army in the past, taking advantage of past Earth's untapped mineral resources. Robin first has to slip past the centuries and find the Slipgate to take her back in time to medieval England, and from there, avenge her father's death. Yeah, so apparently you are Ranger's daughter and all. And when the third person model was changed to be like a female Ranger. But I'm sure you noticed this from the footage, but what's this? This anime player head sprite. I mean, I have nothing against anime. My mascot and OC is an anime girl, and I take photos of anime girls in VR. I'm pretty much a weeb. But when the game looks like this, and then I see this, completely different aesthetically from each other, it makes me wonder if either this is by accident or very much on purpose. Well, I managed to find that, according to the author, and I quote, "It was the only female one I could find, the protagonist in Peril being female. I asked my daughter if she thought the protagonist Robin would be into anime." Aw, that's actually really wholesome. Not to mention, in the README files there's also the explanation of things in Peril. Apparently, most of Peril takes place not only in medieval England, especially, but around the place where the creator of this mod lived or grew up. Many of the maps are quite personal, like others based on a real place where they used to play as a child, a town that holds many memories to them, or a location based on what they learned about them in history class. And the actual reason for this mod's creation? Well, to create a proper sequel to Quake, of course, as one thing mentioned, but also this snippet. This project Peril was started during the first lockdown and was originally aimed only to provide a co-op episode of Quake for my son. Man, the lockdowns. The world is in chaos today, and the lockdowns are often blamed for it one way or another. People definitely experience it differently. For me, personally, it was one of the best times of my life, as through virtual reality, I met many new friends and have learned a lot about myself, others, and everything. It came at a negative turn to my life, making things so much better. For many others, it must have been hell, however. For Bargog's family, it must have been similar. Don't want to assume, of course, but I can imagine being stuck inside, a parent trying to entertain their kids and figuring out that this is the only way to do it. And this personal connection did elevate Peril for me just a bit. All the enjoyed was there, of course. Sure, the gameplay might be a little bit repetitive, enemies are bullet spongy, and there is something with the way weapons feel in Quake 1 in general that just a bit off to me. And there is an argument to be made that Quake's enemy design doesn't really fit such open and wide levels, but the actual feeling of the many levels, like the atmosphere and the ambience, the sense of a great adventure through these large expanses of land with such a personal connection to the author, I do think it's one unique experience that no other Quake mod ever managed to make me feel. Truly, it's like a family trip in Eldritch, England. If you are up for such adventure, give it a try. I will link the download in the description. It will already come with a version of Quake wasn't spiked, but if you want, you can just get Iron Wheel for free. Any other version won't work as far as I know, not even the new remaster. I also highly recommend reading the readme file, as the mod does have to be run with a few specific commands to make sure everything works. I hope you have fun. Well, this one was a short one. I feel it's time to switch genres, however, as I don't exactly want to just showcase barely known FPS mods. I want to showcase barely known other game mods as well. So tune in next time to present you of a forgotten trilogy and a mod that not only almost became official, but also nobody heard of outside of my country. Oh yeah, time to dox myself further. Aight, see you next time.